Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Klonoa playthrough. It's time to begin Vision 2, and I have to say I love the map screen, because obviously every time you've finished a stage, if you've gotten all 6 of the Phantomillions, then the song that plays gets ever so slightly longer each time, and it's a beautiful song, and also it's so catchy and it's awesome and I love it. And one of the other things that I really like about Klonoa is that each of the game's visions feel so different. So obviously we started off in a kind of grassy village area, then we move into a jungle, we're going to move into a water region, and all sorts. It's very varied. Obviously it's going to go over kind of standard video game level tropes, but they've all got their own feel about them. And I mean, I have to pay special attention to the game's soundtrack, because it's just so bouncy. There's just something really quite special about it, I feel. And I think that this remake does a really good job of updating it. And actually, I have found the soundtrack for the remake on iTunes. That is amazing. So I might actually be able to give you some of the game's songs. So, throughout the first vision and all of that story, we had And I Begin to Wonder, Inquisitive Waltz, Darken, The Windmill Song, Blue, Le Fils, Mine of Lights, Spiral Truck, Guardius Appears, The Rongo Lango, A Pendant, and Grandpa's Chair. Right now, you are listening to Sad Forest Drum, and after a certain point in the level, I believe we'll be listening to Sad Forest Drum 2, so I will be keeping this open because this is amazing. I didn't know this existed. But what I was looking for was the composer of the original Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, and actually this is proving to be a little bit more difficult than I would have hoped, but I think I may have just found it. So, the list of composers for Klonoa Daughter Phantomile, the original one, are Eriko Imura, Junko Ozawa, Kaneko Kakino, Tetsukazu Nakanishi, Kota Takahashi, Hiroshi Okubo, Hiromi Shibano, Tomoko Tatsuta, and Takaki Horigome. Now, I don't know how much influence they had on the Wii Remake's soundtrack, but obviously those core songs have just been updated a little bit in terms of their instrumentation. And what I really like is that they've all got a sort of bounciness to them. Like, there's all got really good drums, but also because it sort of deals in a lot of panpipes and wind instruments, or at least that kind of sound, and it's just always really pleasant on the ear, and they're all, like, really catchy songs. Like, I don't think there's a bad song in the Klonoa soundtrack. I don't know whether I would say that any of them are ridiculously memorable outside of some of the main ones. Like, I mean, I would say that the main map title theme is definitely memorable. I would say that the opening screen is very memorable, and there are a few others that are, but part of my lack of memory may just be that it's been obviously 6 years since I last played Klonoa, so some of them just haven't stuck in my head. But that said, I will always say that the Klonoa soundtrack is brilliant, because it really is, and there's actually nothing quite like it out there. And I would say actually that this is probably Sad Forest Drum 2, because as you can hear there's just been a slight shift in how the sound works. And there's been a few more instruments added, and there's been a slight shift in the tone. It's just so clever. I love it. And on the whole, I would say that, I mean, I've said it before, but I will say again, I do really think that this remake did a really good job. So basically, the game's development began after the merge of Namco and Bandai, when Vice President Shin Unozawa expressed a desire to revive the Klonoa series. Thank you, Shin Unozawa. Thank you. You made my life. Namco Bandai developers decided that a remake of the original game in acknowledgement of its 10th anniversary would be the best approach, something I completely agree with. This song would be Melancholy Soldier, I believe. And the Wii was chosen to develop for because Namco Bandai felt that it was the one that had a wide appeal and which fulfilled the original game's premise of appealing to both younger players and adults. The game was produced by Hideo Yoshizawa, who directed the original game, and other key members of the original development team, such as Chief Planner Tsuyoshi Kobayashi, Visual Chief Yoshihiko Arai, and Sound Designer Kanako Kakino, contributed to the remake so that it surpassed the standards of the original game. So the remake features a graphical upgrade, redesigned characters, updated gameplay, and all of the cutscenes have been remade using the sort of cel-shaded animation style. The original game had a pure Phantomilian dub, but then they reacted those in Japanese, but gave you the option of hearing either. Obviously when it got localised they did the English dub. Many small modifications were made to the gameplay to make it more intuitive and easy to control, according to Yoshizawa, and these included the speed at which Klonoa runs, the length of his wind bullet shot, and adjusting the hit range of enemies. There were also additions to the gameplay centred around unlockable features, such as additional costumes, and also mirrored levels designed for the hardcore fans, which provide a great challenge which I will discuss later. There was also a proposed special redesign for the character in North America, and basically instead of the big long bushy ears, this was like almost sort of bat's ears in a way. They stuck up, and yeah, it just does not look right. And thankfully they did a survey of audiences on the qualities of the potential redesign, and it was just completely panned because they found it depressing, compared it to Poochie, who was a parody character from The Simpsons, who was designed as an unnecessary change to a television show, and who embodies the idea of jumping the shark. So basically, since everyone really supported the original design, Namco Bandai abandoned redesigning it. And also, for some reason, in the West they decided to drop the Daughter Phantomile subtitle. I suppose because it had been so long since the first game, they thought Klonoa Daughter Phantomile was too many weird words to get people on board. Because that's the thing, oftentimes people tend to freak a little bit when they see loads of words that they don't understand. And I mean, I totally get it, but it does prevent people from experiencing some really good and fun titles if you just go it on things that if you avoid things on the fact that you don't understand the words. I mean, Nier Automata is a prime example, because obviously none of those words really make sense. You might figure out what automata means, or automata, whatever you want to pronounce it as, but that's a really good game. But some people might just go, what is this title? And that's a problem. Now, the music that we're hearing right now is Jugpot Falls, and obviously we'll then go on to hear Jugpot Falls 2! And it's just nice and soft and so on and so forth. Love it. Always have, always will. And actually, even looking at this now, it really does look good. I mean, if you're playing it on, well, when I'm playing it on my current TV, which is 43-incher? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's 43. Because I wanted 39 to just neatly fit into the little nook that I've got. I believe I've spoken about this before. But I ended up having to go for 43-inch because I wanted the 3D-ness, because I've got a 3D Blu-ray player, I've got 3D Blu-rays. I'm not missing out on that. So it's slightly bigger, and because obviously it's such a big screen, you really do see the jaggies. But to be fair, that's just the thing of it. This is an old game. I mean, obviously the original game is much older, but this is still 2009. So it's only really about 2-3 years into the Wii's lifespan. And I mean, what's quite cool is that the game does have a graphical filter option, which is, well, the whole purpose of it is that it blurs everything a little bit. Basically, the whole purpose of the graphical filter is to remove the jaggies that obviously were going to be present on bigger screens, because this is only like a standard def title. Obviously you're seeing it in crisper HD, or at least as HD as you can get from recording the game off the Wii U's Wii emulator. So it's higher quality than you get on a normal Wii, but still not amazing. But even then, it still looks good. It's the whole thing of testament to art design. I mean, I know that there will be people who say that this visual design is a little bit too crisp, I suppose, because I think part of the joy of the original Klonoa was that in certain areas it was a little bit darker, the proportions were very different, and I think that some people, and also think that perhaps some of the animation in cutscenes was a little bit more exaggerated, shall we say. Obviously, because of the limitations of the software, they had to try and make things look a bit more exciting. And also, there were certain cutscenes which were like FMVs, which obviously at the time, super exciting. Whereas nowadays, we prefer things when they are in-engine. And we have since around that time. But with that said, I've not got a bad word that I can say about the visuals in this remake. I do think that it's really well done, and it just annoys me that the game didn't get the love that it deserved. I mean, it got a reasonable amount of love. Like, it got like 8 out of 10s, did get a few 7 out of 10s. Generally it was received less well than the original PS1 version, which is totally fair enough. But I do feel that it did get shafted at the time, just because of when it came out. It had the whole thing of people looking at it thinking this is a key game, and just going, no, and kids were just like, I don't know what this is, and therefore not going to it. Which is, It sucks. I mean, effectively, with the Wii version, Famitsu gave it 36 out of 40, which is really good, and gave it a Platinum Award, but criticised it for a lack of freshness. And they also felt, well, they felt that the graphics had evolved significantly, obviously, which was echoed by Kotaku, and they also praised the gameplay, but they did criticise the game's overall simplicity and called it a fairly stock platformer, which is totally fair. It's quite linear, it's quite simple, and quite easy. But I would say that that is partially the point. But it has been... it has been dealt with quite well in that 1up.com included on the list of six obscure Wii games you must play. Editors of Nintendo Power named Klonoa as one of 30 Wii Essentials in June 2012, and later ranked it as the 63rd greatest game ever released for a Nintendo console in their farewell issue the following December, and then Games Radar placed the game on its own list of top 50 Wii games in 2013. So, even though it really did sell awfully, the Wii remake, it got received relatively well. It just didn't really set the world on fire, which, as I've said before, is a shame. But now it is time for another boss fight. And like, I wouldn't think that this guy is terrifying. He's not. He's incredibly adorable, even if he's evil. And so, musical-wise, we had Weeping Corral, then we've had Mad Seadoph Blues, and then we've now got Cursed Pamela. And I have to say, I really like Evil Pamela's design. There's just something quite elegantly evil about it. The whole point of this boss fight is grab Seadoph and hit Pamela with him. Now, this is definitely a jump up from Rongo Lango, just because you're constantly on the run from spiked balls, and it is very easy to just accidentally get nipped by the top of Seadoph's horns, or just get clipped by the spiked balls, but once again, not too bad of a boss fight. Now, I will just say, you may notice every now and again a little crossfade at some points during this boss fight. Essentially, I was having a little bit of Wiimote communication problems, and I was just like, no, this is I mean, it's not a perfect run, but I'm not redoing this level, because it was sort of late-ish at night at this point in time. So, I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to try and hide these as best as possible, and I think, you know, I've done pretty well. Because even just watching this myself right now, I'm struggling to see where I made those cuts. So, success, I feel. But yeah, I really like this theme as well. It's awesome. There we go. Boss fight is complete, and we have restored Pamela and King Seadoph to their real forms. I have to say, I much prefer Evil Pamela to Real Pamela, but there we go. Now we've got Joker Mood. Now we move into Jugpot King Speaks. It's very fitting, I feel. Very bouncy as well. And so, let's go! Vision 2 is complete! It's time to head to the forest once more for Vision 3. See you then!